everybody, and welcome back to the Finding Wendy Podcast. And so with this podcast, we're going to be diving deep into wellness, resilience, and what it means to truly show up for ourselves. So I'm your host, Wendy, and this is episode 22, titled Stolen Focus. Can we ever pay attention ever again? So today I wanted to do something a little different, a blend of reflection, update, and a look at the chaos of modern life. So from my ongoing Ozempic journey and recent conversations with my health team to the books and podcasts I've been loving, and just basically a lot to share. And at the heart of it is something I think we've all been feeling right now, distraction. So let's talk about it. Stolen focus. Can we ever pay attention again? Have you ever picked up your phone to check one thing and suddenly an hour is gone, 2 hours is gone? Have you started a task only to forget why you even started it? You're not alone. Basically, you're not alone. So Johann Hari has written a wonderfully powerful book called Stolen Focus: Why You Can't Pay Attention and How to Think Deeply Again. And it basically says it's not your fault. Now, I've spoken in the past about Johann Hari because I read his other book called The Magic Pill, which basically talks about his journey on Ozempic. And this book, Stolen Focus, I can highly recommend. So Hari spent 3 years interviewing experts across the world to figure out why we're losing our ability to focus. It's not just screen time. It's a full-blown crisis driven by big tech, fragmented multitasking culture, poor sleep, pollution, ultra-processed food, and even the way we eat and live. And yes, our own habits play a role too. But here's what I loved about this book. And Hari just doesn't throw blame around. He gives us hope. From reclaiming our time and attention to protecting our kids' developing brains, he invites us to imagine a world where focus is a human right, just like clean water or safe housing. Because the truth is, our attention is our life. Where we focus is where we live. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to start living a little bit more clearly again. So here we go. Let's deep dive into the book, Stolen Focus by Johann Hari, and talk more about it. So, because honestly, it basically blew me away. Johann Hari starts the book in with a very personal question. Why can't we pay attention anymore? And why do so many of us feel like we're constantly distracted, scatterbrained, or overwhelmed? We often blame ourselves, our phones, our willpower, our inability to stay off social media. But Hari says the truth is far bigger than just personal failure. He argues that our attention didn't collapse, it was stolen. And here is why it gets really powerful and where it gets really powerful. Hari identifies 12 key causes behind our growing attention crisis. Just to name a few. The rise of surveillance capitalism, how tech companies profit from our distraction. Information overload and the constant flood of contact we're expected to keep up with. The breakdown of sustained reading and deep thinking. Sleep deprivation, which affects not just memory, but focus, mood, and creativity. Environmental pollution, like air quality, which literally impairs cognitive performance. And even poor diet, specifically ultra-processed foods that impact brain health and stability. So he also explores how modern work culture, with its nonstop emails and multitasking expectations, is training our brains to jump from one thing to the next without even truly settling. So one of the most eye-opening chapters is about flow states, those rare magical moments where we're fully immersed in something, totally focused and energized. Hari interviews scientists who explain how difficult it's become for most people to even enter a state of flow because our lives are so fragmented. And here's what I love. Hari doesn't leave us hopeless. He lays out tangible, science-backed ways to reclaim our focus, both on a personal and societal level. So, on the personal side, he recommends taking regular tech breaks, technological breaks, tech breaks, and setting up boundaries, reducing background noise and interruptions, getting enough restorative sleep, practicing single tasking. Yes, just do one thing at a time. Spending time in nature, which he calls an attention enhancer. I call it forest bathing. And embracing boredom. Noticing what comes up when we don't distract ourselves. But he's also clear that individual action alone isn't enough. We need systemic change, and how tech companies design their platforms and how schools and workplaces are structured. Hari makes the case that attention should be treated as a public health issue. I think it's a public health emergency, actually. And much like clean water and safe roads, we need to practice this. We need to learn how to focus again. So his central message is this. The truth is that you are not broken. Your attention has been stolen, and it's not too late to take it back. So reading this book felt like something or someone was finally naming what... Sorry, I have an itchy nose here. I'm just itching my nose. For those of you who are watching the video, I was just itching my nose. So let me go back again. So reading this book felt like someone finally was naming what so many of us are feeling, but with compassion, clarity, and a real path forward. So that's about his book, Stolen Focus. I highly recommend you read it. I've read it, and I'll probably read it for a second time because there's so many things in it, and I take actual notes when I'm reading the book as well. So, this next segment, I wanted to talk about my personal Ozempic journey. So here's what's been going on in my world. I'm now on week 9 of Ozempic, and while I've definitely noticed some changes, smaller portions, skipping breakfast without even thinking about it, and overall less hungry, I'm still struggling with late night snacking. As a matter of fact, right now, I haven't had breakfast yet. It's 11:30 in the morning, and all I've had is 1 cup of coffee, and I'm not hungry. So that's great. But I still have issues with late night snacking. And so last week I met up with my nutritionist, Lauren, at Mount Sinai Hospital, and we talked about the emotional triggers behind that nighttime eating. So I'm still at the lowest dose as of the day before yesterday, but she suggested that I speak to my doctor. And so now I'm officially on a higher dose of 0.5. So I'm not hungry, and I'm not hungry today, and let's maybe hope that this will help. But the cost is a real issue. And at a full dosage, which is 2.4 milligrams of Ozempic, it's about $450 a month. Still incredibly cheaper, much cheaper than what most people pay in the U.S., but whether it's Ozempic or Wegovy, it's still a lot of money. It's frustrating that something that's so helpful isn't easily accessible to everyone. Lauren also encouraged me to look into therapy or counseling to help manage emotional eating. She shared with me a great handout called Ways to Nurture Yourself, Simple Things to Do That Don't Involve Food. So here are a few simple things to think about or do. Download some music, snuggle with a cozy blanket, walk in the park, color or sketch, visit the art gallery, which you cannot do at 10 o'clock at night. Google your favorite comedian, buy yourself flowers. These are a few things. What I tend to do is that I've noticed myself, if I do have any kind of food noise, that I listen to music on my headphones. So that really helps. Or I start reading a book. I tend not to eat when I'm reading. I don't know why. That's a very interesting thing. But the thing that I've added, one thing on my own, is journaling. Inspired by Jan Arden, who I listen to adamantly with her podcast, is that she has kept handwritten journals since she was 10 years old. She has apparently a whole garage full of boxes and boxes of journals that she's written over the years, over the last almost 60 years. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to start doing that. So I bought a lined notebook from the dollar store and a good pen, and I've been journaling now for 10 days. So when I go to bed, I no longer look at my phone, I journal. I haven't gotten to the point where I put my phone in the other room to charge overnight, but I am journaling in my book with my pen on my leg, and I'm not looking at my phone. And I must admit, it is helping my sleep for sure. And it's helping me reflect on my habits, my emotions, food choices. I've been brutally honest in it, and I know nobody's going to read it. And it feels good. So it's for my eyes only, and that's enough. So let's move on to the next segment. It's called my weekly Ozempic and Ontario obesity coverage update. So this weekly segment is about the GLP-1 news in Canada and the U.S., and so here is what was making headlines over the last 2 weeks. Connecticut's bold move. The state passed legislation that could allow it to produce generic Ozempic and Wegovy, potentially slashing Medicaid costs and pushing for lower national prices. So related to that, in Canada, in 2026, they're also going to be allowing generic Ozempic and Wegovy in Canada as well. So that hopefully will bring down the price. Eli Lilly's expansion, the pharmaceutical giant, is positioning itself to dominate the obesity space with a new oral version of tirzepatide, Mounjaro, which is expected in 2026. And safety concerns. Agencies in the UK and Germany are investigating reports of acute pancreatitis linked to GLP-1 drugs. While rare, these events have led to updated FDA warning labels. About microdosing trend, the off-label trend of microdosing GLP-1 is growing in the UK and the US. But health experts still warn we still don't have enough data on safety or effectiveness. And we have new competition from China. Chinese companies are entering now the GLP-1 race with compounds like enoxaparin, which showed significant weight loss in trials, raising the bar for global competition. And the Canadian news, the University of Toronto flagged a smaller increase of macular degeneration risk for long-term users, still rare. And U.S. telehealth company Hims & Hers plans to launch generic semaglutide in Canada, aiming to reduce costs and expand access. So what does this mean? Generics are on the horizon. More options and lower costs could be coming, but safety must remain top of mind. Always speak with your doctor if you want to start on any GLP-1 drugs. So the next segment I wanted to talk about is podcasts. So podcast picks that I love and listen to. And so let's shift gears and talk about something that feeds my soul, other podcasts I love. So top of my list is the Jan Arden podcast. Jan interviews incredible guests, authors, politicians, game changers. She's smart, she's warm, she's funny, she's hilarious, and she's my go-to. Also who I follow is On the Pen, Dave Knapp, which covers the U.S. updates on the GLP-1 and the obesity medication landscape. Then there's Wiser Than Me with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, where she interviews older, wiser women with incredible life experiences. Finally, a podcast that celebrates voices over 60, because the podcast world is basically geared towards millennials in general, but for our senior citizens, there's not a lot out there. And if you want some fun, fearless things, podcast, check out Senior Bitches with Mary Jo Eustace, a fellow Torontonian living in LA with a bold voice, interviewing amazing guests with humor and heart, mostly women in their senior years. And lastly, I started listening to Adriana Trigiani's podcast. She's a best-selling podcast, best-selling author, and her new book, A View from Lake Como, just came out. Her podcast is full of heart, humor, and insights, and she's a brilliant woman doing amazing things. So that's it for episode 22 in the Finding Wendy podcast. We talked about reclaiming our focus, reflecting on our wellness journeys, and staying informed in a fast-changing world. So remember, our attention is where our lives unfold. So let's protect it and protect ourselves in the process. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. Please leave a review or leave a voicemail message. I do have a podcast channel, which is called Finding Wendy Pod. And you can leave your comments there as well. And you can also leave me a donation. So if you think this podcast is fun, these podcasts are not free. They cost me money to produce. So if you want to help out, you can also make a donation on my Finding Wendy podcast website. And the donation is through a platform called Buy Me a Coffee. It's very simple. Just click on the link, Buy Me a Coffee, and you can donate there if you want to help me out with the costs of producing these podcasts. So that's it for now, and thanks so much for joining me today. And next time for episode 23, we'll see what we're going to talk about, but hopefully you can share the podcast with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.